ESPN believes that Tennessee has a great chance of making the college football playoff in 2023. Why is that? And why could it not happen? That, a whole lot more. Big recruiting day potentially coming up for Tennessee football here today. It's Thursday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into it. This is your Thursday edition of Locked On Vols. I'm your host, Eric Kane. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me here today, as always. Watching on YouTube, subscribing to the Locked On Vols YouTube channel, and listening wherever you find your podcast, making it your first listen each and every day. You know it. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, question of the day. How many games will Tennessee baseball win at top-ranked LSU this weekend? That series starts tonight. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You guys know I cover the Tennessee baseball team. Don't talk a lot of baseball in this podcast, but I want to know what you guys are thinking. If you're dialed in Tennessee baseball this year, how many games will Tennessee win? Will it be 1, 2? Will it sweep? At top-ranked LSU, that is the cue of the day. Answer that question by tweeting me, DMing me, or by commenting on this YouTube channel. All right, so today, going to have a whole lot of fun. College football playoff, most likely new teams to enter the picture, I guess is a weird way of kind of saying that. But ESPN put out an interesting article about the top 3 teams that can make history by going into the college football playoff for the very first time. And Tennessee's one of those 3 teams. Who are the other 2, and what are the reasons they put out there? We'll get into that here in segment number 1. Really good question that was asked on the VolQuest Mailbag podcast earlier this week. Is Tennessee back? And I kind of heard this conversation on Josh and Swain at 99.1 The Sports Animal. I guess it was earlier this week as well. What does that mean for Tennessee to be back? What are the qualifications or whatever? We'll have that conversation. It'll be kind of fun in segment number 2. Maybe that should have been the cue of the day. And then in segment number 3, we're going to preview the commitment announcement of quarterback Jake Merklinger. He's going to pick between Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, and Michigan State. He'll have his announcement coming up later today at 12:05, just after the noon hour Eastern time. That is what you have to look forward to here on a Thursday show. All right, let's go to that ESPN article. College football playoff candidates to reach the first college football playoff, their first college football playoff. It's written by Heather Dinich, of course, is at ESPN, and this is pretty much all about Tennessee. I mean, you start at the top of this article. It says, last fall, Tennessee beat number 3 Alabama, earned the number 1 ranking in a fleeting moment, lost a close game to eventual national champion Georgia, and came within a whisper of making the college football playoff for the very first time. Had it not been for a November loss to South Carolina, Tennessee, and the injuring of quarterback Hendon Hooker, the Vols would have had a chance to make some history. It would have been more than just a chance. They would have been in it, for sure. And it says, in 2023, Tennessee will have a chance again. Very, very interesting. Josh Heupel's quoted in this article and saying, the outside noise and expectations are greater now. That's great about our fan base. At the end of the day, our work habits are going to dictate what we accomplish next fall. The thing that I've loved this offseason so far is that our sense of accountability to ourselves and to this program has been heightened. We have tangible evidence of that. It's a group that's extremely mature, and for those reasons, we do have great expectations for this year. So I'm going to go down here. They list 3 teams, USC, Penn State, and Tennessee, as likely candidates to reach their first college football playoff for 2023. For Tennessee, Heather Dinich at ESPN, kind of list some things out here. 2022 record, of course, was 11-2, 6-2 in the Southeastern Conference, which is the best record by a mile for Tennessee in over a decade. Total appearances in the college football playoff rankings, 12 appearances in the college football playoff rankings. Highest college football playoff ranking was, of course, number 1 in the initial debuting of the rankings of 2022. That was back in October. And the highest playoff ranking finish was at number 6. Of course, that's last year in 2022. So, biggest reason for optimism. This is what Heather Dinich says at ESPN.com. Offensive identity. It's Heupel's high-flying offense that isn't changing, even if the personnel has. No question, the Vols lose some big-time names. Of course, it mentioned offensive coordinator Alex Golesh, Hendon Hooker, Tillman, Hyatt, but there's plenty of talent lurking in the shadows. Tennessee is expecting Oregon transfer Dante Thornton to emerge as a reliable player. The staff is confident in quarterback Joe Milton III. The offense should again be one of the nation's fastest and most productive and entertaining. I agree with all that. Joe Milton is not Hendon Hooker, but I think Joe Milton in this offense, now a better understanding of this offense, say with Josh Heupel coaching him up and Josh Heupel calling plays, with the talent around him can go and make some plays. And you guys remember, even in year number one of this system for Josh Heupel in 2021, Tennessee was a top 10 offense. Now it led the nation in scoring and total yards last year, but even in year number one, it was a top 10 offense. The article goes on to say, it's quoting Joey Halsley, we're going to play with up-tempo. We're going to get vertical on people. We're going to dictate the pace of play. We're going to dictate what the defense can do and what they can't do, when they can sub and when they can't. That's the whole reason for the tempo and for the tight end position of this offense. The aggression of which we attack, we try and score from all over the field. One of our biggest sayings is it's really hard to score when you aren't trying. So we try to score the ball. Whenever we get it, we anticipate crossing the goal line with it. This is who we are. We're going to attack. That isn't changing. Gosh, that's a really good quote from Joey Halsley. So those are the reasons for optimism for Tennessee to make its first college football playoff. Biggest hurdle, defensive growth. Tennessee's defense showed improvement last season as it progressed, but in order to beat Georgia and avoid an upset like South Carolina, it's got to be better. The Vols had 0 defensive touchdowns and ranked 117th in the country last season with 155 total missed tackles. Heupel said he specifically wants to see the defense get better in third and long situations and get more pressure on opposing quarterbacks. Tennessee's last season ranked 127th in opposing passing yards per game at 289.5 yards on average, at number 96 in opponent's average time before a pass at 2.8 seconds. So, a couple of things here. I would agree with that. Defense got to take a step. You've also got to find 2 starters on the offensive line, and that is critical. You also have to have some development at the tight end position because of how critical it is for the offense. But for the defense, it came such a long way last season. And I know a lot of people are just frustrated and don't want to hear this or are too just angry to actually look into the stats because of the South Carolina game. I mean, that was horrendous. Tennessee improved its points per game total by a touchdown from 2021 to 2022. A freaking touchdown, guys. It went from 29 points per game to 22 points per game given up. It was the second best rush defense in the SEC. It improved significantly. I did a show on this, if you remember, back in probably January. Improved significantly in third down situations where it was abysmal in 2021 and red zone defense. But again, as we just pointed out, and so accurately does this article, Tennessee was so bad with pass defense last year. It was really bad with pass defense last year, and it was not great at getting to the quarterback. It needs to improve in both of those things. So I would agree with that. I would also, under the biggest hurdle, I would add you gotta replace a tackle in Darnell Wright and of course Jerome Carvin, but you've really got to find somebody to solidify that offensive line at the tackle position. Hopefully John Campbell can be that guy. But yeah, how about this? Tennessee, one of 3 teams here in this ESPN article from Heather Dinich to make the college football playoffs in 2023 for the first time ever. Tennessee joins Penn State and it joins USC as well. So how about that? That's some good stuff. I was doing a hit on the Chuck Oliver show on Wednesday, and he asked me a question. He was just kind of like, I mean, does it feel this way regarding Tennessee football? Because from the outside looking in, it's like Tennessee football can do no wrong right now. The positive vibes, the positive momentum is just so loud. And it's almost as bad and as negatively thought about the program was in January of 2021 when Philip Fulmer retired and Jeremy Pruitt was fired for cause and you had all the players leaving the transfer portal and Tennessee was under investigation and all that. It's almost how bad it was then. You flip the script 180. That's how positive it is now. And I would agree with that. I would agree with that 100%. Now, as we'll talk about in segment 2, Tennessee's got a stacked season on top of season on top of season. But I thought this was interesting, and I liked a lot of what it said, and I'm sure you did as well. And I agree with the majority of it. Candidates to reach the first college football playoff, Tennessee one of 3 teams for 2023, along with Penn State and USC. All right, when we come back, we will answer another question. Should have been my cue of the day. I'm silly for not making that my cue of the day. Cue of the day is how many games will Tennessee win at LSU this weekend in terms of baseball, but also big-time question we're going to answer in segment 2, is Tennessee back? And what does that mean to you? I'll tell you what it means to me. That's coming up next here on Locked On Vols. But the tournament is heating up. There's no better place to get in all that action than at FanDuel. That's America's #1 sports book. That's because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up today to claim your no-sweat first bet. Then you can wager on everything from moneyline to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the nets. All on the app that's safe and secure and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel.com today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. Make every moment more with FanDuel. All right, guys, welcome back into it. It is your Thursday edition of Locked On Vols, and I'm your host, Eric Kane. Got a fun football field show here today, and I hope you guys are going to enjoy it. Big-time commitment watch. Tennessee will be on around lunchtime today for four-star quarterback Jake Merklinger. He is going to make his call between Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, and Michigan State. That's coming up at 12:05, just after the noon Eastern time hour. We're going to preview that commitment coming up in segment number 3. But right now, I do have a question for you. Is Tennessee back? A lot of jokes all the time, like, the Vols are back. That was Philip Fulmer leaving the Big Orange Caravan or the signing day celebration for like the 2019 or something. Vols are back. I mean, I love that, right? And of course, the Vols weren't back. The Texas Longhorns joke all the last couple of years. Texas is back. Longhorns are back. All that type of stuff. So there's some fun things to joke around about that. But seriously, I do want to ask, is Tennessee football back? You're coming off your best season in over a decade, 15 years. You won double-digit games, 11 wins. You lost 2 games. Best SEC record since probably 2008, if my memory serves me correct, or 2009. I know one of those years was the bad year with Fulmer. I think 2009 was it, so I guess it was 2008. You're going to have at least Hooker, Wright, Tillman, Hyatt, Young, Banks. You're going to have at least 6 guys drafted, at least 5 guys drafted, probably 6 guys drafted. And again, you're just continuing to see this program get better and better and better. But, coming off last year where it was so good, leading the nation in scoring and total yards and all that type of stuff, and seeing the results prove on the football field, is Tennessee back? What does being back mean to you? To me, okay? To me, it means you are continuously contending for a championship. It means you have a chance to get to Atlanta, SEC championship. You're winning your division. You will have a chance to get to the college football playoffs. Obviously, winning some of those would be really, really nice. Double-digit win season and all that. But to me, you've got to do it over a 2-year span. If Tennessee wins double-digit games this year, goes to a New Year's Six bowl game, and even doesn't win its division, say Georgia wins again, and even doesn't make the college football playoffs, Tennessee's back because you are contending. In 2022, Tennessee absolutely was contending for a national championship. Why? Because it owned the top ranking in the college football playoffs in October. You best believe Tennessee was in that picture, even after the loss to Georgia, like I mentioned in segment number 1. If Tennessee would have held on and beaten South Carolina, Tennessee would have an over 63% chance of getting into the college football playoffs. Wouldn't have been guaranteed, but you had a great chance, more than a 50-50, of making the college football playoff field. So, Tennessee is contending for championships, or it was in 2022. It was contending for an SEC championship up until its loss to Georgia, because Georgia knocked Tennessee out of that race. But so to me, it's about contending for championships. LSU was technically contending for an SEC championship last year because it had its path. It had beaten Alabama, it had beaten A&M, it had beaten Ole Miss, I believe, and it had a path, and it was clinched to Atlanta, right? But then a late season, I forgot who they lost to late. I forgot who they lost to late, and then, of course, they lost the SEC championship. But there was a path for LSU with 3 losses that it looked like it was going to, maybe crack the SEC or the college football playoff rankings. It was technically contending for a championship, but by the time it came down to it, it wasn't. And again, the same thing can be said for Tennessee. But to me, I'm not ready to say Tennessee is back. I need to see it for another year. That's just me. What Tennessee did in 2022 was incredible. The way Tennessee is recruiting right now, it's good enough. Can it be better? Absolutely. But the way Tennessee's recruiting right now, specifically at the positions that it's recruiting, quarterback and getting after the quarterback like we spoke on earlier this week, absolutely. Tennessee is doing the necessities it needs to be doing. And to me, though, it needs one more year. It doesn't mean you have to win 10 games in the regular season. Maybe you win 10 games altogether plus, with that bowl victory. Also, another thing that was pointed out, and this was asked to us, honestly, on the VolQuest podcast, and we talked about it briefly on Thursday's episode. Rob Lewis said, what about the Alabama-Georgia game? Are they laydowns now? Are they right now? No, they're not. They're not anymore. Tennessee beat Alabama. Does that mean Tennessee's going to beat Alabama next year? I don't know. They don't have a chance. Tennessee, of course, came up short against Georgia and really didn't have the greatest showing against Georgia, and I think a lot of that has to do with Georgia and how good Georgia was. The offense kind of no-showed. The defense actually played okay in that game. And again, it was windy and it was rainy, and Georgia had the game in hand, and it was running the football and was trying to get out of there, and I understand all that. But are those 2 games laydowns anymore? No, they are not. Will they be laydowns in 2023? No, they will not. Will Tennessee have a really good chance of beating those teams in 2023? Yeah, absolutely. But because those games are not laydowns anymore, another reason to think that Tennessee is either back or it's very close to being back. So again, kind of bringing this all full circle here. To answer the question for me, is Tennessee back? Right now, no, it's not. Is Tennessee far from being back? No, it's not. You want to win championships. You need to win something, right? I get all that. But being in contention to go to Atlanta every year, to go to the college football playoff. Remember, you don't have to represent the SEC in Atlanta in the SEC championship game to be in the college football playoff. That's the beautiful thing, and especially when that sucker is expanded to 12 teams in 2024, it's going to be even easier. So is Tennessee back? To me, it's not back, but that doesn't mean it's not close. Does not mean it's not close at all. What say you? Is Tennessee back? And if it's not, what does it need to do in order for it to be quote-unquote back? 2022 was a fun year. Hope for another year like that. It's great for business. It was really, really fun to watch this football team. It was great to come on here and recap Tennessee football games. It was fun. Covering a winning program is fun. It makes our jobs fun. It makes our jobs not necessarily easier because I'm still putting the same amount of work in if they're winning or losing, but it's just more enjoyable. Absolutely. And again, business is booming. Hello, almost 7,000 subscribers on Locked On Vols YouTube. So let's get up there to 7,000. But it was a whole lot of fun. So what does Tennessee need to do if it's not back for you? Or is Tennessee back? That is the question. But I'll tell you this, and again, we're gonna save this topic for after the draft. But I mean, how about the job Josh Heupel's done? Just incredible. Just incredible from a recruiting standpoint to a winning standpoint on the field to a developmental standpoint, getting guys drafted in the NFL. And he's doing a heck of a job. He's doing a really, really good job. Speaking of recruiting, big-time commitment announcement. That's coming up later today. Will Tennessee be the hat that's picked up? We will see what Jake Merklinger decides to do. We'll preview that commitment announcement. That's coming up next, right here on Locked On Vols. One more segment left here on this Thursday edition of Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. As you're listening to this, maybe Tennessee has already taken part in spring practice number 6. He'll be back on the practice field Thursday morning. Going to talk with Brian Jean-Marie, linebackers coach, along with some of those linebackers like Aaron Beasley, Keenan Peely, and some others. Looking forward to that. Tennessee's Pro Day is coming up tomorrow afternoon. Going to be over there covering that. And hopefully at some point, whenever I have time to record later today, I'm not sure when that is. The day is so full with Tennessee baseball as well. And the Jimmy Hyman's retirement party. Can't wait to go to that. Hopefully I'll bring you some notes and some of my observations from Tennessee Pro Day. But looking forward to seeing Cedric Tillman, Jalen Hyatt, Hendon Hooker, Jeremy Banks, Jerome Carvin, Byron Young, Paxton Brooks, Chase McGrath, some of these other guys, again, that didn't get invited to the combine, compete in the pro day, and Trayvon Flowers, and hopefully that their dreams will be a reality. Maybe after tomorrow if they have a good showing. So looking forward to that. A guy that would very much like to be doing a pro day at Tennessee one day would, or Tennessee or North Carolina or Michigan State or Georgia. Those are those 4 finalists. That would be quarterback Jake Merklinger. Quarterback Jake Merklinger of the 2024 class of Calvary Day School in Savannah, Georgia. He is going to make his commitment to one of those 4 schools later today at 12:05 Eastern Time, just after noon, just after the noon hour, or the going to noon. I like Tennessee's chances. I do. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but Jake Merklinger was on campus last weekend, had a really, really good visit. Shortly announced his commitment date, and a lot of those signs kind of point to the Big Orange, to be completely honest with you. He has long liked Josh Heupel. He's long liked Joey Halsley. He's long been interested in the offense that Tennessee runs, and I don't think he's going to be, if he chooses Tennessee, I don't think he's going to be shy about competing with Nico Iamaleava when those two guys are here. That'll be interesting, though. If he does choose Tennessee, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, so you're coming in here with the 5-star number 1 overall player in the country that just signed here last year, right? If he does pick Tennessee, that shows a lot, right? That's already saying, hey, I like you. You're not shying away and everything, but also, there's stability here at Tennessee. It's going to come down to Tennessee and North Carolina, to be completely honest with you. It's going to be Tennessee or North Carolina. Look at those 2 programs. Path to the field quicker, probably Carolina, but stability. Mac Brown might not be coaching much longer, right? Josh Heupel will be, and Josh Heupel is one of the best quarterback coaches in America. So I think there's a lot of intrigue, obviously, outside of the other reasons why he, if he chooses Tennessee, why he, made that decision. So who is Jake Merklinger? Well, he's 6'3", 195-pound quarterback from Calvary Day High School in Savannah, Georgia. I'm looking at his On3 profile in the On3 database. Of course, give us a follow and stay tuned to all the recruiting coverage at VolQuest.com. And everything else, Tennessee football, basketball, baseball related. That's my day job. But here's what the On3 database says on Jake Merklinger. Quote, Jake Merklinger was already known as one of the top high school quarterbacks in Georgia heading into his junior year of high school. But Merklinger elevated his game in 2022 and became one of the country's elite quarterback prospects. Merklinger was named the 2022 Offensive Player of the Year by the Savannah Quarterback Club. He threw for 1,987 yards and 32 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. That is very Hendon Hooker-like, am I right? He also ran for 283 yards and 4 scores to earn Region 3-3A Player of the Year honors. Quote, he shows more and more maturity each week, stepping up in the pocket and holding himself in the pocket, rescanning the field, Calvary Day head coach Mark Stroud said. Once that first thing breaks down, he does a really nice job of a good job of figuring out what's next. He's improved every year and proven himself, and I think he's going to continue to get better and better. He has all the physical skills. He's a tremendous competitor and leader. He's got all the intangibles the best programs are looking for. Away from football, Merklinger also enjoys playing basketball and lacrosse. His favorite food is crab. Okay, I don't really care about all that. But yeah, that's kind of an overview on who Jake Merklinger is with some of those stats that were thrown in there from the 2022 season. You go over here to the scouting tab, and it says, here's a scouting summary. Jake Merklinger, accurate, mobile passer with a strong feel of the game early on in his high school career. This is written, sounds like a little earlier. Among the more accurate top quarterbacks in the 2024 cycle, completing over 70% of his passes as a sophomore. Comfortable navigator in the pocket, sees the field well, finding open receivers under pressure, shows the ability to quickly react and escape the pass rushers. Functionally, mobility both in and out of the pockets is among the best in the 2024 quarterbacks at this juncture. Can pick up chunks of yards with his legs on design runs and scrambles. Has shown a good arm to this point, but can continue improving his velocity as he gets stronger, in addition to tightening his release. A multi-sport athlete who plays basketball and lacrosse. That is the scouting summary on Jake Merklinger. So this would be a big haul. And why would it be big for Tennessee? Well, if Jake Merklinger does pick the Big Orange, that would be Tennessee's, I believe, 5th commit for the class of 2024. Hold on, let me pull this up here. if Tennessee's able to be the team that gets him, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it'll be a sixth commit, Tennessee's sixth commit for the class of 2024, joining, of course, tight end Jonathan Eccles, wide receiver J.J. Harrell, cornerback Caleb Beasley, defensive back Marcus Gorey, and defensive lineman Carson Gentle. This would be Tennessee's 1, 2, 3, 4. If Jake Merklinger commits, it would be Tennessee's fourth four-star in the class of 2024. At Tennessee, which already sits ninth nationally with these 5 commits, certainly would move up. But also, if Jake Merklinger is Tennessee bound and picks the Big Orange today, I mean, it's big because you always want to get the quarterback out of the way first. And the quarterback has so much pull. I understand a lot of you guys are saying, well, hey, Nico, he didn't get a lot of elite offensive talent here last year in that cycle. And again, he didn't. Which is a little surprising, but also Tennessee's class was built from the defensive side last year, and they added a 5-star quarterback in Nico, right? But you got him in there. At least you knew if you are a recruit that is being called and sought after by Tennessee, you're like, oh, what Tennessee got in this class, right? If you look there and see they've already got their quarterback locked up, quarterback's the most important position in all of sports, you feel much better about yourself. Also, Merklinger could be a recruiter and a helper and really kind of be the straw that stirs the drink, if you will, for this class. So it'd be huge. It would be absolutely huge for Tennessee to grab Jake Merklinger today. He's going to pick between Tennessee and North Carolina, but the other finalists that are given out are Georgia and Michigan State. It's going to be between Tennessee and North Carolina, and I think Tennessee has a good chance. Again, he was on campus this past Saturday, had a lot of good things to say when he spoke with VolQuest.com, and then he said a commitment announcement. So a date rather. So hey, if you read between the tea leaves here and you kind of come to a conclusion to your by yourself, it kind of looks like Jake Merklinger could very well be a Vol by the end of the day. But we will see. That announcement's coming up at 12:05. And if you pick Tennessee, we will have plenty of coverage over there at VolQuest.com. I can tell you that. I'll be intrigued to see what Jake Merklinger decides to do at 12:05 p.m. Eastern Time today between Tennessee and North Carolina. Tennessee, maybe will have its quarterback for the class of 2024 at some point today. All right, guys, appreciate it. What a show. Fun show talking Tennessee, potentially in the college football playoff picture in 2023 as Tennessee back, previewing the commitment announcement for Jake Merklinger between Tennessee and North Carolina. Question of the day, how many games will Tennessee baseball win at number 1 LSU this weekend? That series starts tonight. I'll have coverage over at VolQuest.com for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, of course. And answer this, is Tennessee back? And if not, what does Tennessee need to do to be back, in your opinion? Thanks so much for making Locked On Vols your first listen each and every day. Hey, Final Four action gets going later this weekend. Make Locked On College Basketball your second listen right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Please subscribe to the Locked On Vols YouTube channel. Let's get up to 7,000. Subscribe wherever you find your listening podcast as well. Rate me 5 stars. Leave me a positive review on Apple Podcasts, guys. I really, really appreciate it. Same time, same place. We'll do it again tomorrow. This is Locked On Vols.